Hi, this is David Minns from G4 Guitar School in Lake Forest with another video lesson, and this lesson is for students that are either on Senior Level 3 or Junior Level 5. Again, Senior Level 3, Junior Level 5. In this lesson we're going to be taking a look at the chords that we need to be able to play at both these levels, okay, because they're the same. So, let's take a look at the very first one. The first chord we're going to learn is a C major 7. Sounds like that. Okay. So this is quite a simple one because way we get to this is if we take a regular C chord, which by now we know, and we simply take away our first finger and let that open second string ring through, that is your C major 7 chord. Okay, C major 7. So again, let's recap on that. We would have a regular C chord, taking away the first finger gives us C major 7, and we would play that from the 5th string, the 3rd fret on the 5th string being the note of C for our root note, all the way through. So that's C major 7. And throughout this video, feel free to stop it at any time at any one chord you want to practice on before moving on to the next one. Okay. So moving on from there, we have the F major 7 chord. Okay. So the F major 7 chord looks like this. So let's take a look at that. We have our 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the 4th string for the note of F, which is our root note. We have our 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string for the note of A, which is the 3rd of the chord, root 3rd. We have our 1st finger then plays the C note on the 1st fret of the 2nd string, which is the 5th of the chord. We then play the open E note at the top. Just let the E string ring through. And that's the note that makes this the major 7th. So we place our 3rd finger here, 3rd fret on the 4th string, 2nd finger, 2nd fret on the 3rd string, 1st finger, 1st fret on the 2nd string. We then pick from the 4th string, which is our root note, all the way through. And that is your F major 7 chord. Moving on, let's take a look at the D major 7 chord. So D major 7. Let's first of all, when we look at this one, let's go back to our regular D chord, which again we know by now. Okay, and let's review what's happening. So when we change these chords, we can see the notes that are changing, that change the character of the chord and actually help us change the name. So here's our D chord. Okay. Now what we're going to do is with this chord here, we're going to take our 1st finger, and this is a little different because we're going to have to rest our 1st finger across all 3 strings, strings 3, 2 and 1, all on the 2nd fret. Okay, 3, 2, 1, and what's going to happen is the finger is going to press down flat across all those 3 strings, but it doesn't want to touch string number 4, which is our D note. That's the root of the chord. Okay, so again, the open string in D is the root, which we pick. Our 1st finger lies across the 3rd string, the 2nd string, and the 1st string, okay, and pushes down on the 2nd fret, and that becomes our D major 7. If we look at the note that changed from D major, it's this guy, the 2nd fret on the 3rd string. If you look at the 2 chords and look what happened, this note here came down 1 fret to the 2nd fret on the 2nd string. Okay, and that changed from, that's the note that changed. So that's D major 7. Open 4th string, 2nd fret 3rd string, 2nd fret 2nd string, 2nd fret 1st string. Okay, but a little different because we've got to use our 1st finger to play all the way across. Okay, moving on, let's take a look at our A7 chord. Okay, sometimes called the A dominant 7 chord. Okay, but for our purpose in the book, it's A7. The way it's written, it will look exactly the same. The letter A with the number 7 to it. But in some books or videos, if you look at those, you might hear it referred to as a dominant 7 chord, and we can talk about that in our lessons to understand why. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our A chord, okay, regular A major chord, which we know by now, okay, and what's going to happen is we're going to take away our second finger. Okay, so the second finger will be here on the 2nd fret 3rd string. We're going to take that away and let the open 3rd string ring through. So here's the A major chord. We take away the 2nd finger. It's a bit difficult to see from here, but my 2nd finger is definitely off. Okay, and that gives me the A7 chord. Okay, and we're going to strum that from the 5th string, which is the note of A. That gives us the root of our chord. Okay, so you can hear the difference. Here's A major, and here's A7. A major, take away the 2nd finger, we get A7. Moving on, let's take a look at the chord D7. Okay, so our D7 chord, what we've done so far, we've had 3 D chords we're looking at. We have a D chord from a couple of levels back, a new one today, okay, with the D major 7 chord at this level, and then we have the D7 chord, okay, which looks like that. Okay, so really what's happened is, the way I look at this is, here's my regular D chord, and if I could flip my whole hand 180 degrees and not hurt myself, okay, then I'd end up with this shape, the same shape but just flipped 180 degrees. Okay, so let's look at that. The first finger goes on the 1st fret of the 2nd string. Second finger, 2nd fret of the 3rd string, and the 3rd finger, 2nd fret of the number 1 string. Okay, and we pick from the 4th string down because that's our root. And that's our D7 chord. Okay, very distinctive chord. Okay, let's review again. Open D string. Okay, 2nd finger, 2nd fret 3rd string, 1st finger, 1st fret 2nd string, 3rd finger, 2nd fret number 1 string. There's our D7 chord. Moving on, let's take a look at the E7 chord. Okay, sounds like this. If we take our existing E major chord, which we know is E major, and what we're going to do is we're going to take away a finger again, so to speak. We're going to take our number 3 finger off the fretboard. Okay, and in doing so, what happens is this note here, the 2nd fret on the 4th string, but number 2 finger was pressing down on, becomes open. So then when we put that into the chord, okay, there's a very distinctive change. So that's how we get to our E7 chord. And this one again, all 6 strings can be used. We want the low E string because this is our root note. There's E major, change it to E7. We raise that 3rd finger up and let the 4th string ring through. That's our E7 chord. Moving on, we've got a couple more to go here. We're going to take a look at a G7 chord. Sounds like this. Okay. Again, very distinctive. These 7th chords are very distinctive in the way they sound. Okay. So let's look what's happening here. If we take a regular G chord that we've known so far, here's our G chord. What's happening is the note that's changing is this 3rd finger on the 3rd fret number 1 string, or the E string, comes down, and it becomes the F note on the 1st fret of number 1 string, on the E string. Okay, so our 3rd finger from here, okay, comes down and we play the 1st finger on the number 1 fret, number 1 string for the note of F. We then reach all the way across the guitar, okay, and we're going to press down on the 2nd fret of the 5th string with our 2nd finger, and then the 3rd finger goes on the 3rd fret of the 6th string. So what you may notice is that these 2 notes here are exactly the same notes we use in a regular G chord. Okay, what we've done is we've just switched our fingering around to allow us to get number 1 finger to come down and play that F note there. So that's our G7 chord. There's our G chord. The note that changed was this guy. The 3rd fret comes down to the 1st fret, and we have to play that with number 1 finger, which then forces us to change the fingering for these 2 notes here, which is the 2nd finger here, 2nd fret 5th string, and the 3rd finger here, 3rd fret on number 6th string. There's your G7 chord. Okay, the last 2 chords we're going to look at today are the G5 and the C5 chord. Okay, now, if you remember back to when we looked at A5, D5 and E5, The 5 chords are really important because so far with all the chords we've played, we either had a major or a minor chord. So the A5 chords, or the 5 chords really, are neutral. Okay, they're neither major nor minor because they do not contain the third of the chord. Okay, and we can talk more about that as a theory part of our classes. So let's just look at the shape and get that under our fingers. So the G5 chord looks like this. We place our first finger on the 3rd fret of the 6th string for the note of G. This is our root note. And our 3rd finger comes over and plays on the 5th fret of the A string, the 5th string. Okay, this note is the 5th. And here's the root. Here's the 5th. This is why it's called G. There's our G root, G5. Okay, so it's a pretty simple chord. Okay, 2 notes, same as the A5, D5, and E5 were. But the other trick to it, as we looked at with those chords, is we only want to pick 2 strings, the string 6 and string 5. So that's your G5 chord. Moving over to the C5 chord, what we're going to do is we're going to take this shape here and just drop over 1 string for each finger, so that our first finger now plays on the 3rd fret of the 5th string. This is the note of C, and our 3rd finger plays on the 5th fret of the D string. This note is G. This is the 5th of C. This is so again the 5th is there and the C is here, so it's C5. And again, we want to strum or pick at the same time both the 5th string and the 4th string. There's your C5 chord. So again, as we said, pause the video as you go through this and come back and refer to it as you build your chord vocabulary up, and we can talk more about this in our lesson. So the first step with all the chords, as we know, is to learn how to position our fingers to get the chord shape down. The second step is to refine that fingering so that each note of the chord rings out nice and clearly, so we may have to move around a little bit, and you're getting used to that by now, I would imagine. And then the third aspect is to use the chords, so we'll practice our chord changes, looping around some of these chords to get our fingers moving. If you have questions, feel free to drop me a line, or we'll talk more on the lessons. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.